This time on Watchers of Tomorrow, Wesley's Grey Goo!
Hello, welcome to Watchers of Tomorrow, the sci-fi review and critique show that eats computer chips like they were candy. Just nom, nom, nom. Nom nom. I am Gepwin, and I will never make that noise again. I'm joined, as always, by my friend and co-host, Dr. Isix.
Hi!
And we have gotten back, finally, to our next-gen stuff after our weird jaunts into Disney movies and computer-animated weirdness.
Yes. And our heavy drug trips.
Yeah, but sort of drugs. Confusing movies. If you're confused, listen to the last 3 episodes.
Yes, then it will make
some
maybe not sense, but
sense.
An explanation.
Then the reference will make some amount of sense. The movies, probably not.
Yeah. I think they both make sense in their own way. But anyway.
Yes, that's a lot. That's a very generous. It makes sense in a special way of making sense. Anyway, back to something much more straightforward, which is Star Trek: The Next Generation Season 3.
Season 3. You know what that means, right?
That this is when it starts being good.
Well, yes, but also Geordi and Worf got promotions.
Oh yeah, they don't really mention that. They're just there.
Yeah, because Geordi might have become the chief engineer at the start of the previous season, but he was not a lieutenant commander until this point.
Oh yeah.
Worf was a junior grade lieutenant, is now full lieutenant.
Yeah, they just every now and then they make a big deal about them getting promoted, and then not.
And then other times it just sort of happens. You have to be kind of paying attention to how many pips they have.
Let's see, I'm trying to look up now whether or not this is the season where Geordi starts having a beard sometimes or not.
Oh yeah, I forget when that is, because there was he's like getting married, so I was like, I want a beard for my wedding because it's my wedding, dang it. And so there was at least one episode where he's being they're filming the episode and he's growing his beard throughout that period of time, but they're recording it out of sequence, so his beard grows shorter and longer at different parts of the episode.
Apparently the producers told him that they didn't want him to have a beard. They're like, Geordi doesn't have a beard, and they just showed up to set with a beard one day. It's like, what you gonna do? We're filming.
Yep. Not gonna let you near my face.
Anyway, that may or may not be happening this season. I'm not sure.
We'll comment if it's relevant.
Yeah. So now we are on the first episode of season 3, and like all older shows, no one cares it's a new season. Nothing particularly happens to make it a special episode other than they have like a little bit of a subplot of like, oh my god, the doctor's back for reasons we're not going to explain.
Yeah, I guess she was doing stuff at Starfleet Medical and is back. And so either there was a massive scandal with medical malpractice, and she managed to, it's like, all right, I'll step down from this position, but as long as I can have my old job, and that way, you'll both be able to say that you did something about this massive crisis, and I won't be totally destroyed, and thus I don't have to get my revenge on you, using this blackmail I had. Or she got bored.
Yeah. We just also no explanation what happened to Pulaski at all, ever, never mentioned again.
Yes.
Just gone.
I do have my fan theory there. I think I've mentioned a version of it previously. Do you need a reminder?
I remember she goes off to live with the Medusans, but
well, among other things, but so you remember that one time the pen pals where she erased the kid's memory and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she got in trouble for that. That's what I'm thinking.
All of your Doctor fan theories for Star Trek are, what if this Doctor faced consequences for their actions?
Well, why not?
Because we haven't started facing consequences for actions. That's something that DS9 brought in.
Oh yeah, we're still before consequences time period.
Yeah.
The level of consequences varies depending on which series you're in. So, there's consequences in DS9. There's sometimes consequences in Voyager, and not really for the rest of TNG here. I guess Enterprise there was kind of consequences, but only in the 4th season.
Well, you get some consequences partway through TNG, like starting around this era. Once they start doing more consistent character development, you're still episodic, but like the characters remember shit that happened to them, and they do callbacks. It's ridiculous to me that people say there's no character development or consequences until you get to DS9, because Picard has an entire several season arc about being traumatized from Best of Both Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Like for a long time.
Yes. Cropped up, even at the beginning of DS9, where Sisko's like, yeah, we've met before in battle.
Mm.
He's like, and Picard's like, oh, yeah, sorry about that. Awkward. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, now we have Evolution, which I keep forgetting that this episode is called Evolution. There are at least 4 episodes that are named something evolution-y related, and only like 2 of them have anything to do with evolution.
And I know at least one of them is bad evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ridiculously so. But that's season 7. We have to wait.
We've got a ways for that. This one is about robot bugs. But we'll get to that.
Little insects?
Yeah, basically. Little robot insects.
Yeah, just crawling around all over your skin.
That's something else. That's the drugs.
Oh,
that's
sorry.
the drugs from before.
I'm still coming down from all that.
This episode was written, or I guess co-written, by Michael Filler and Michael Wagner, who we'll hear about elsewise at different times too. Filler had previously worked on some early version of a medical reality show called The Doctor's Office. Also a game show called Hotline that was supposed to be an early experiment in audience participation where people could call in to the live show to influence what was happening.
Interesting.
So he was doing some cutting edge sort of TV stuff in a way that would later go on to completely ruin television as a medium, but not yet, and I guess we can't blame him specifically.
At some point, ends up becoming an executive producer for some show called Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah. He worked on this, then was brought on to do writing, and then later became a showrunner and executive producer, etc., etc. And he's been involved in what's considered to be most of the series' best episodes.
And then went on to be executive producer for Deep Space Nine, and then a little bit for Voyager.
Yeah.
And there is, unfortunately, the time he wrote the screenplay for Insurrection, but,
Can't win them all. His origin story is writing about Wesley. Then Wagner had also had success with his 70s TV show The Blue Knight, which was about cops, propaganda stuff, but it was the 70s, so he didn't care. He also worked on a lot of other shows that you've heard of, like $6 Million Man, Starsky and Hutch, Hill Street Blues. He won an Emmy for that one.
Something called Probe.
Yeah, he co-developed a sci-fi mystery show called Probe that he co-created with Isaac Asimov. It lasted 1 season and no one liked it.
Well, Asimov, it can be acquired taste, outside of, folks that are interested in robots and stuff like that.
Well, I think
or psychohistory.
I forget where I heard it. Someone described Asimov very, very well as someone with a bad writer with good ideas.
He's also very much of the sort of engineering side of sci-fi. So, characters, we'll have some characters, but they'll be spending a lot of time using poetic about, important subjects that no one actually behaves that way. But then we'll have some subplots about infidelity, and that will be all good.
At some point, someone will trick a robot into revealing itself by using computer logic.
Yes. Or a robot will trick a person into revealing themselves. Dun, dun, dun.
We only have one guest star this episode, who is Ken Jenkins, playing Paul Stubbs. Jenkins is known for many guest appearances on The X-Files, Babylon 5, Sliders, most shows. You will instantly recognize him because his best-known character was his long stint as Dr. Bob Kelso on Scrubs.
So here he's playing a doctor of a different type, but Stubbs today, Kelso tomorrow.
Yeah, he's less of a dick in this episode. This doctor's slightly less of a dick than Kelso.
Yes, which is given how much of a dick Dr. Stubbs is in this episode, that's kind of saying, if you've never seen Scrubs, just how much of a dick Kelso is in that show. So
you can see the archetype. He's still doing that, like, I'm a bit of an ass, I'm going to say the thing I want and then run out of the room so you can't argue. Because he got typecast early. You look like a dick.
Yes. Have at it.
We don't... This is actually a fairly straightforward story. It's not something I've been used to writing recently. So, we get Wesley, who's asleep and is late for his bridge shift. He's fallen asleep working on something.
Yeah, so he's waking up. We're coming back to the season, and this is what we're doing here. And I guess to a certain degree, it's showing that even Wesley has to take a nap sometimes, and can't always be at the top of his game 100%. Also, the ship's already screwed by this point, so
Yeah, it's kind of interesting when your inciting incident happens well before the episode started. It's like you come in, it's like, no, everything's screwed already. Sorry.
Yes.
So Wesley makes it to the bridge to see they're staring at a couple of big stars, and there's a civilian scientist on the bridge to explain what's going on. There's a neutron star that's drawing matter away from a nearby red giant, and it collects on the surface of the star until it explodes every 196 years.
Sends off a wave of neutronium, which is really cool because that's like the super ultra hard material in Star Trek that has some curious qualities that may or may not make it really easy to destroy, but in Star Trek it's really, really hard. Anyway, and so this is like a big thing because, we don't really get to see this sort of process, ever because 196 years there.
Yeah, this is the only large, predictable, immense burst of energy in the universe, apparently, or at least the only one they can access right now.
Might be one over in Andromeda, but, it's a little far away.
So they prepare to launch Stubbs's probe that has been nicknamed the Egg to monitor the explosion for some unnamed physics reason.
The general vibe is this thing's supposed to, go within the, the neutron star's sort of area of effect and, I guess find a safe spot and then record and view the explosion from the inside out.
Yeah, it's actually kind of like the science fiction version of Twister.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
So then the ship shakes around and it throws Stubbs against a wall because he's not used to the shaky ship camera yet.
Yes. In fact, I'd say that the actor has a weird sort of twitch at one point that I just found hilarious.
Yeah,
anyway.
It just is like, whoa!
I'm already on the ground and whoa!
The ship won't respond to commands, the shields are down, and they are drifting towards the stellar matter being drawn out of the red giant, so it's not a great time.
In the first season we had, a stellar remnant coming at the ship. Now the ship's going at a bit of stellar remnants.
Yeah, they keep doing this. Stop being near stars. It never works out for you.
Maybe if they get a shield upgrade,
So Worf gets the shields up with a manual override, and they stop just before they're burnt up, but not before their momentum carries them into the star stuff, and they still get a little singed.
I wonder if this might delay slightly the big eruption.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too, if it's timed so precisely that they know it by the hour, Or second, because Data quotes seconds at one point.
And, if you disrupt this massive flow by having a non-tiny spaceship in there, with weird, super powerful shields and all that kind of interacting with everything, that might throw off your measurements slightly.
Yeah, maybe only by a couple minutes, though. Probably not enough to matter.
True.
When all you're doing is needing to put a thing in explosion. So they attempt to diagnose what went wrong with the ship, and the ship says nothing happened at all. It's fine. Everything's been normal.
That's weird.
Stubbs
Can we imagine that?
Can we imagine that? Everything being normal? No, I can't imagine everything being normal.
Today's weather is normal.
Yeah, what is that? What would you think of if someone just said there's weather?
Oh, yes. What about it?
So Stubbs is taken to sick bay exclusively so we can reintroduce Dr. Crusher. She's back. Hooray.
Hooray. All right, Dr. Crusher, you're back in the episode. That means you get a subplot because we need to establish that you are actually still here.
Yep.
Or back. Existing. There we go.
So Stubbs talks to Wesley about having his mother on board the ship. I think she takes it a bit too seriously. She's like, I wouldn't let I have my mother on the ship. And then you get like a zoom in of Dr. Crusher. Oh my God. I was worried.
Have I ruined my son's life? Oh no.
Like, these are just military kids. They're always weird. I'm sorry, military kids, but I've met enough of you to know this.
It's going to have a different experience from everyone else. So, deal with it.
So Stubbs is back, takes Wesley to inspect the egg. As soon as they leave, the replicator in sickbay starts overflowing with a glass of water of its own accord, but the computer says nothing's wrong.
Wait a moment. Have we run into another Iconian probe?
Probably. It's happened.
Dang it.
They also just don't, this has happened before, right? This happens all the time. The computer's broken down so many times from so many random things. They're barely checking on it. So Crusher heads to talk to Picard. He's like, yeah, we're fixing the replicators. He goes, no, but Wesley's a weird teenager. And maybe he's too weird of a teenager.
Well, yes, but that didn't bother you before.
I think it's just really strange that they've made an entire subplot of this episode be, we wrote an unrealistically strange teenager.
Yeah. Well, I guess Crusher being away for a year, she kind of, escaped the adiabatic process of it all and, now has perspective on the situation.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
She came back and like, wait, was my kid always this strange? What happened? So Picard says not to worry about it because... just because she's been gone for a year doesn't mean anything's wrong with Wesley. Because now, his character hasn't changed at all. We're just noticing now.
We've given him special privileges and been slowly working him into the Starfleet properly. And, he's only 17. But, this is totally okay and not weird at all. Why do you think it's weird?
Yeah, when they're just shouldn't a teenager be getting into trouble? It's on a spaceship? When you live on a spaceship? Probably not. No.
Yeah, there's light trouble, I guess falling in love with a metamorph. And then there's serious trouble.
Yeah, that too.
Running off with one of the shuttles and crashing it on a planet somewhere without permission.
I know this happens. She's like, did anything happen while I was away? It's like, no, just he almost caused an interstellar war by falling in love with a shapeshifter. But
we've all done that, right?
So Stubbs and Wesley are looking over the probe. Stubbs starts talking about how he was a smart kid and that's a lot of pressure to achieve your potential, etc., etc. Before he can make Wesley completely depressed, there's a red alert and they have to leave.
Oh, thank goodness, red alert.
The Borg have showed up, apparently, but they're invisible this time.
They must have assimilated a cloaking device. Drat.
They're being fired on, or not, and then it disappears because there was another computer malfunction.
Well... what was the last time we had something like this? Oh yeah, when we were doing the War Games simulation, a bunch of ghost ships were being input in the computer. Riker.
Yeah, Riker did it. There we go. They try to identify the problem, but this time instead of saying nothing's wrong, the computer plays chess.
That's maybe one way for a computer to just pretend it's didn't paying attention to what you said.
What now? Queen to Bishop 6. Nothing.
Are you going to move?
So they have a meeting to work out what's going on, the way they always do. Stubbs suddenly shows up and demands that they make his research work no matter if they die, because I'd rather die than fail. I don't know if those two things are mutually exclusive in this instance.
Yeah. I guess this is a little awkward. You're really intense here, guy. If we can get the door open, we could just push your little egg device out, and it can fly on its own, right?
Yeah, you'd think so. I don't really understand the problem. All they have to do is get the thing outside the ship.
Yes.
So in engineering now, LaForge is diagnosing the computer problem with Wesley, and he finds that the computer chips have holes in them. They've been carven apart. Eaten, one might say.
I do know several people who eat computer chips, but they're also robots.
And Wesley seems weirdly nervous about something here. Ooh.
He been eating computer chips too?
So later, probably at night, hard to tell, spaceship and all, Wesley's crawling around 10 forward, leaving little devices around. He's found by Guinan. He admits that he's leaving traps to try to trap nanobots he was experimenting with. He was working on them, but then he pulled an all-nighter and fell asleep and left the nanobot containment thingy open, and he's let them running. Also, his experiment was networking together nanobots to see what would happen, and he's worried that they're taking the ship apart.
Well, that's maybe something to talk to somebody about. I guess talking to Guinan's a good first step, but, that's maybe somebody else.
You know, he's worried that people might be mad at him for destroying the ship. And then Guinan does that thing where she just stares at him. He goes like, yeah, I'll do the right thing.
It's like, yeah, people are going to be mad at you, but, if you don't say anything, we could all die, so maybe fix your divot.
But also not, like, no one has ever been angry at anyone on this ship for admitting that they did something that was going to destroy the ship unintentionally. It's just not happened with this group of people ever, and it's weird that he's always worried about it.
I guess he hasn't realized that in Roddenberry's vision of TNG, no one actually argues about anything unless they're a guest star.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. They're all consummate professionals. They're like, this thing happened accidentally. I need to tell you because it might put the ship in danger. And they're like, we understand this was non-intentional. Let's keep the ship from exploding. Good job.
Yes.
So Wesley apparently doesn't immediately tell anyone because they reset the engines and try to launch the probe again, but then the computer breaks and starts playing marching band music.
It's little stars and stripes forever here.
Yeah. Stubbs gets all depressed because he can't launch his probe, and he tells Wesley how he's the most boring man alive because for entertainment, he replays baseball games in his head.
Well, I guess that works for you, I guess. Just always thinking about baseball anytime you're not working.
It's like statistics, baseball statistics. I can just recreate the statistics. Like, that sounds so boring. Why?
Because with, like, actually playing or watching baseball, you can actually play or watch baseball, and there's, it's maybe a slow game overall, yes, but there is things happening that you can see. There is stimulus here, as opposed to the cold hard numbers here.
But that's also like, I know that we've gotten to a place with this sport overall where they're just using statistics to juice things. It's one of the reasons people say the games got so boring now. But the entire point of watching a sporting event is because an unexpected random thing might happen. If you're just recreating it based on nothing but statistics, it's just that. You're not doing anything interesting.
Yep.
The unexpected would never happen because you just have to imagine a statistical probability.
Like, okay, well, what's our chances for something peculiar happening? Very small, so we're going to ignore that and go through the motions.
So what they really did was find a way to take something that was already the hallmark of a boring character, that all I do is be obsessed with baseball, and then make it even more boring, because like the thing that I like about baseball is when nothing interesting happens.
Yeah, I know folks with lots of different boats that can float, and I don't understand this one compared to most of them, so...
So Wesley leaves Mr. Boring to his baseball and goes back to checking traps, and he finds something right when Dr. Crusher comes in. They talk about how he's weird and is a teenager and is a weird teenager. And then after a bit of the heart-to-heart, he tells her that the ship's falling apart because of his homework.
So, maybe we should, stop worrying about this subplot and get back to the main plot here.
I think that there's an unintentional world-building thing here that demonstrates they still haven't fixed their school managerial system enough to prevent people needing to feel like they have to pull an all-nighter to get work done, which is provably the worst way to get work done.
Yes.
That you are overloading people. You're not teaching people how to manage their time well, and it's your fault because that's a managerial failure.
I suspect there might also be an aspect of Wesley's unique situation of being the favorite child on the ship. To quote Dr. Stubbs there, specifically the Wonder Kid, where he has lots of extra expectations on top of him, and so he is very much someone who is being treated in a special way, and thus he has to behave in a special way, and the being reasonable about one's time management is unreasonable for him now, and so he must push himself 100%, and it's very unhealthy, and that kind of fits in with Dr. Stubbs' own sort of obsessions there, that he's maybe not the most healthy person in terms of his own behavior and priorities.
Yeah, I think it works out that way. I just think from a world-building perspective, it's shown you that we have not progressed as a society.
Yeah.
That this is still happening.
So, be careful about that, guys. All-nighters suck. Try to avoid them. And if you're in a situation where you can't, well, maybe it's time to change your situation.
So Dr. Crusher gives everyone a presentation about nanites and how they're networked and are evolving and are eating the computer chips so that they can build a new generation and improve themselves every time. It's a Grey Goo singularity.
Well, it's been nice knowing everybody here, but our only real answer here is to try to get ourselves in an isolated environment away from the rest of the ship, and hope that we didn't bring it with us and it doesn't kill us all. So,
So Stubbs is unimpressed because it's interfering with his research. It's all important. Just kill it then, right? This is why physicists and biologists don't get along.
Now, as a physicist, I try not to just say kill it about stuff here, but he's also very specifically an astrophysicist, and I'm not sure how that differentiation might apply here.
Everyone else agrees that they should look at what's happening before they just kill it in case they've made a new life form. They do that a lot. So
yes. Just in case it's alive,
In the computer core, Wesley and Data are working on low-level radiation bursts that would slow down the nanites. Stubb goes, hey, if you do a high-level radiation burst, wouldn't that just clear the thing out? And they're like, oh, that would be bad. He goes, yeah, I know, and then shoots the computer.
Bzam! I have a gamma ray gun that just keep on me.
Yeah. Hulk smash.
Yes.
On the bridge now, because they got attacked. Something happened. Something smells funny. It's gas, the deadly kind of gas.
Yes. Apparently, we got some heavy pollution going on here. We are. It's almost as bad as downtown LA in the mid 21st century here.
Yeah, they had a lot of nitrous oxide in downtown LA.
They will in the Star Trek universe.
We made our cars run on laughing gas. It's not better, but it's funny. So they switch the controls to manual, clear the gas. They keep having these things. It's like, oh no, something's gone wrong. We fixed it.
Yep.
Cool.
All right, so that was a moment of drama, I guess.
Yeah. Worf drags Stubbs in to answer for his crimes. It's like, what happened here? This douchebag. This is what happened.
He thought he could kill things without my permission. Well, do you mean my permission? Sure.
He's now responsible. He's being held responsible for anyone that gets hurt because he's basically started war.
Yes.
Stubbs now goes, well, you don't have any choice but to kill them. Haha, I'm forced to fight. I don't care about robots. Anyway, Data's right there.
Data's probably thinking, wow, this guy's just such an asshole.
So Troy talks to Stubbs about how he's really okay with killing a bunch of things, including himself, for this science stuff, but he just pushes her away and goes back to remembering baseball like the most boring man in the world that he is.
Well, I guess given that he's kind of showing some very deranged aspects to his personality and motivations, that him intentionally doing something incredibly boring might be saving us all having to learn that his instincts, his impulses, is to have his downtime involve murdering people. So
Yeah, that's true. He's definitely shown that kind of inclination.
Yeah.
Thinking about baseball quiets the voices.
Yes.
The nanites also get sick of him at this point, and energy bolts fly out from the replicator. and try to kill him.
Well, it's either the nanites or Raiden's pissed off.
So the guard forces the door from the other side, and Stubbs just, falls out unconscious.
And with a very kind of goofy expression.
Crusher brings him back, and Stubbs tells them they need to kill the things before they kill him. Oh my god, but nobody really cares about this guy. He's done such a good job endearing himself with the crew that people are prepared to take the goo over him.
Man, you're just a pain in the ass while the nanites are only trying to eat our ship,
Yeah.
At least reasonable about things.
They're trying to kill us all, but you're annoying about it. So Picard prepares to purge the core of nanites, but just then, Data makes contact. Ta-da.
1001010001.
Data suggests that he can use his body as a translator to talk to the nanites, so they get him and Stubbs and the bridge crew over to the computer core to negotiate with the nanites. So, yeah.
So, Data, put your hand in this thing.
Hold it your throat, the gum jabar. No, wrong thing.
Nanites are the mind killer. Wait. Yeah.
Data lets the bots into his brain. They think the humans are weird looking, and Picard's like, aha, if you think we're weird looking, you should see the other guys. We now have something in common. How about you stop killing our people?
Yeah, it was all a big mistake. Don't worry about it. Here's the guy that did it. We're going to turn around for a minute. Have at it.
He's like, what's great about weird looking people is getting to know them.
Oh. Hey, I think next episode we run into some weird-looking aliens. I hope they'll be, going as well as this situation.
Yeah,
goes.
Nice and friendly. So they tell them that killing a massive number of them was just a misunderstanding. Sorry, But Stubbs goes, well, you can kill me if you want. So are we good? They just want to leave the ship. They're like, hey, it's cramped here. Can we leave? And Data goes, yep. And then they all repair the computer core together and launch the probe. And then drop them off on a planet somewhere.
And we never have to worry about these nanites rising up and building their own space fleet to take over the universe again.
Yeah. The star explodes in what has to be the most stock explosion effect ever.
It's like, haven't I seen this very explosion, but it was like the Enterprise exploding or maybe something else in this very series just kind of being pasted over the neutron star?
Yes, just like, it's like, okay, sure.
But the special effect for the, I guess, quote, the still version of things with before the explosion, I actually kind of like, because of the star and the plasma flow and all that going around there.
Yeah, but then just like firework.
It's like, this is very awkward.
Yeah, you've totally ruined the immersion here. Thanks. So Dr. Crusher goes to talk to Guinan about motherhood to conclude her arc. Guinan says that it's not that hard, you just need to be patient, which is her advice to everything. She's basically immortal.
Like you're centuries old already, and you're going to be living for centuries more, and you're telling all these people that, live a fraction of their lives compared to you. Yeah, just keep waiting, everything will be fine.
Don't worry, it all works itself out in 300-400 years. How long do you all live again?
You guys live like 5,000 years, right? No?
Ooh, that's awkward.
Too bad.
My advice has been kind of crap then, hasn't it? I'm sorry.
Yeah. I guess maybe do something instead.
So Wesley comes in with a girl. Good for him and his supposed heterosexuality. Also, what do we know about this girl? I'm now a suspicious mother, demonstrating no matter what, I can never relax. This is the episode's funny observation about parenthood, which is, I guess, relatable to people who have children. I wouldn't know.
We even have a little goofy music there. It's kind of very original series there, but less super obvious.
We've ended on a joke.
Dun, dun, dun. So, that was an all right episode. As far as my opinion goes. What do you think?
I think it's overall good. I feel like this is one of the kinds of episodes that gets a mild amount of criticism before being like dull, but I think it's that way because it's one of the quintessential next generation texts as far as their message goes. The entire culmination of the episode is maybe everything could work out if we could just talk to each other, and then they figure out how to talk to each other and everything works out.
Like, we can now have a language, we can communicate, and we don't have to, go back and forth with trying to murder each other. So we have other options now, and we can be reasonable people. So that's kind of cool.
Which I feel like is why this series gets remembered like fondly, but not as like, oh, this is when Star Trek was doing its best thing and hitting these hard-hitting, complicated topics the way they have with DS9. Because writers completely misunderstand how to write conflict that is not just everyone being an asshole to everyone all the time.
Yeah. Stubbs is kind of an asshole to everyone all the time, but other folks are not so much.
But like, even with that, they're so committed to their overall message in this episode that as soon as Stubbs even sees that he's hurt a sentient being, he's like, well, shit. I guess that was wrong of me, in fact.
Yes. All right, maybe I should, rein in the psycho act here, and it's like, oh yeah, I do actually care about all life and people and all that, and since they've demonstrated that they're peoples, I'll be nice to them now.
Yeah, it's like, oh darn, I did do a genocide, didn't I?
Whoops, my bad. Can bygones?
But it's like it's a bit of a difficult problem to write around, and I see that. But you basically have a show whose like central philosophical text is we can all probably get along if we take the time to do it. And then when they do that and get along, it feels like they're just papering over everything because it's like, well, what happened to the conflict? You just talked about it and it was fine.
Yep. I guess maybe make it more substance here. There could be have a little bit more negotiations to it. That all right. So we kind of have this thing here, but we need some demonstration of trust from you human type creatures here. We need to have this particular person who has harmed us to not be on the ship anymore. And so. It's like, all right, I guess we got to kick him off onto a shuttle here while we, launch his probe thing. And kind of sucks for him not being there to see it, but we'll get all the data. He can look at it later. But, you can get a sort of a sad moment out of there. It might not it's not much, but it is something in terms of, these nanites are, have a right to be pissed off here. And, they being full forgiving, can be something that they don't do automatically. But they're also nanites, so maybe their, thought process is very alien.
Yeah, which is one of the difficulties of how they gave themselves about 3 minutes to wrap up this entire thing.
Yes.
I think that's one of the reasons that all of the best Next Generation episodes that people cite are court dramas.
It takes a little bit of time to get through things.
Yeah, it gives you an ample amount of screen time and a framework to write the discussion so that you can be like, here's this viewpoint, here's how they differ, here's how we come together to agree on a thing.
Dr. Stubbs, you're a toaster today, and you pushed the eject button at the wrong time. So we have to go put you in ion storm now.
I think it's kind of interesting that... I can't bring too much in because the next episode is also very much about this same kind of thing, but from a different perspective. Yeah, how to negotiate across species. But one of the central texts of the next episode that I think we need to bring in a little bit to juxtapose is Troy has an entire speech about how complicated it is to be able to communicate with someone even when they do perceive the world essentially the same way that you do. And here we have something that not only is not human, non-organic, but also exists on a completely different scale. And I guess because they interfaced with data, it's fine. They're basically humanoids now.
Yeah, we have gained the humanoid experience, and thus we are able to be cool with you. Well, that's actually maybe an interesting idea, that being humanoid is almost infectious in terms of perspectives.
There's a very long-running idea in Terry Pratchett's work, especially the Discworld series, that form dictates thought. Like your nature of being and the way that influences your perceptions and interaction with the world have such a major influence on you that it's an inseparable thing. To be a certain form is to prescribe to a certain way of thinking inexorably. Like, it has a lot of things about werewolves where if you spend a lot of time as a wolf, you start forgetting how to be human, and vice versa, because they have such drastically different ways of interacting with the world.
Indeed. I guess there's also a similar thing that crops up in a little bit of Miyazaki there. I'm thinking particularly Howl's Moving Castle, that when magic users transform themselves, that if they spend too much time in the alternative forms, they forget that they're wizards and thus can't change back.
Mm.
And sort of one of the plot points is that Howl does transform from time to time, and he's also observed that he doesn't want to fight in a war because all these other wizards have already signed up and have been spending all their time transformed, and thus are no longer really wizards. They're the creatures that they've become that are very good at fighting and killing in the for their country, but are not really going to be anything else other than these killing machines now.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a commentary on soldiers or something.
Yeah. So being transformed as a metaphor for indoctrination.
I know. Can you believe somebody said? I saw somebody talking about how they thought Miyazaki had fascist tendencies.
I guess in this particular case, it would be sort of anti, militarization. So yeah, I guess I'm not, and the big powerful state is like an antagonist force.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm a little confused there.
Anyway, people have no media comprehension, but that's neither here nor there. We've danced around a little. I've made references. I suppose that at this point we kind of do have to discuss the Grey Goo scenario. That's sort of the thing that's happening, even though it's not referenced specifically. It's not the main worry. It's has this thing become sentient?
So Grey Goo, what is it? Well, you get this sort of situation where there's a automatically reproducing nano machine of some sort, and then it does nothing else but reproduce itself, consuming everything it encounters, slowly eating away at anything and everything it runs into, be it rocks, people, entire civilizations, the planet, until there's nothing left but the nanomachines, just kind of hanging out, trying to continue to reproduce, but they've consumed all material, so your entire planet has been kind of reduced to slag. Yeah,
the general theory being that once you get to a certain scale, you could, in theory, disassemble things at such a basic component level that you could then reassemble those components from anything to essentially anything else. So you don't wind up with anything remaining because you're deconstructing stuff at a molecular level so that you can reassemble them into entirely different molecule chains instead of just like, well, this thing only eats wood and it's run out all the wood. Now it can't make more stuff out of wood.
It seems to be interested in that wood substitute over there. Hopefully it doesn't get any ideas.
I mean, it's basically just a normal animal sort of boom-bust cycle, but turned into like a human-scale apocalypse event. Like, this happens all the time, as much as we are like, nature balances itself, and animals don't use resources like humans do. We're the real Grey Goo.
They try to be like us, actually.
Yeah, animals will routinely eat all of the available food in their environment unless stopped. Yes. If you get too large of a population of some animal, which happens sometimes, this happens with deer all the time, they will eat all of the available food resources, then there will be a mass die-off until there's a lot fewer of them, a lot of the food resources come back, they're able to eat again, and it just happens. Nature does balance itself, but not not in favor of anything in particular. Like, a lot of stuff dies off for nature to balance itself.
In terms of such die-offs, that can also be, potentially catastrophic for a species. That if the die-off phase strikes hard enough, you get a genetic bottleneck, and so you get the situation where, well, the deer have come back, but they're all really inbred now, and that's not good for them health-wise here. So the deer in this area might start dying out because of genetic defects. So that sucks.
Yeah, that's some of the places where natural, non-human influenced extinction events have occurred several times, where some sort of animal or plant or something has a very natural boom-bust cycle. I can't think of an extinction event off the top of my head, but like the snowy owl up in my area has a very natural boom-bust cycle in relation to vole populations. Like, some years there's just a lot of voles, and then the owls have a lot of things to eat, which means they reproduce more and have more owls, and then they extend their range for a bit, which is when you start seeing them further south than normal. And then the next year, because they ate all of the voles the previous year, there are fewer voles, and then there's less resources to go around, and there's fewer owls for a while. And in some species that have this very natural cycle that just happens, some other bad thing just happens to occur during their natural bust cycle, and that just pushes it too far. A tsunami or a bad storm or some other random thing.
Someone builds a Walmart in the wrong place.
Yeah. Which is one of the places that I find things like gray goo and other sort of like human influenced apocalypse events like this to be kind of dull, because they're all sort of the same thing, and it's basically just we as Westerners especially are very uncomfortable with the non-attention that nature plays to us. Like, you have natural disasters and large, terrible events that just happen and don't care if they hurt you, and there's something deeply unsettling about the fact that nature really doesn't give a shit about you.
And we can't, very well say, I want to talk to the manager about this.
Yeah, so we keep inventing these ideas, like the gray goo, like AI uprisings, etc., etc. We keep inventing basically new natural disasters that we had something to do with.
So instead of, something, natural happening and it's, to a Western audience being this is a thing that happens sometimes and we can just sort of overcome it. This one is very much we both created it, and thus we're falling into our own hubris, etc., etc. And because it is so different from everything else, who knows where it might end up? So, panic.
There's also always been something in these, what if technology goes too far? Oh my God, things like how right now everyone is talking about AIs, which we don't have. A large language model is not going to suddenly evolve consciousness and kill us all. It's not really an AI. Calm down.
It's at best a tool, at worst a weird joke.
Yeah.
And it's generative algorithms that are being just slapped with the AI label there. So yeah, but that's not as sexy of language.
But people keep talking about how dangerous this is, and people who ostensibly should not want you to think about how dangerous it is, people who are making it and plan to make a lot of money off of it, you would think would not be the ones coming out and going, "Somebody stop me from doing this."
Yes. Oh no, I need to panic. It's sexy to panic about technology, so let's do that.
But this means that they must have another motivation, because it seems counterintuitive that they would do something that would ostensibly be so bad for their self-interest. Mm-hmm. And the things I've read and seen seem to suggest two possible outcomes. One being the very obvious, this is a dangerous thing. I am the responsible scientist who sees that it's dangerous and will avoid the dangerous outcome. Give me all the money. So there's that. But
Yeah.
the other one that's slightly more relevant to this situation is AI is flat out going to destroy the world. It is going to Terminator on you. It is going to kill every human on Earth. So when you put it into that perspective, the fact that we're using it to shut down your power bill really doesn't seem that bad, does it?
So, just let us do our thing here, and, the inevitable apocalypse will come, and in the meantime, we can kind of do whatever we like, right?
Yeah, if the bad scenario of technological progress is a literal apocalypse, the death of everyone and everything on the planet, then the fact that we've entered a dystopian future where your doorbell is spying on you isn't too bad, because it's not an apocalypse. What are you complaining about?
Basically, this is dominionism for atheists.
Yes.
For those unfamiliar, the dominionism is a outgrowth of Christianity, where the view is that we as human beings, and by that we mostly mean white men, have dominion over the earth, and thus we can do whatever we like, because in the end we are going to have a rapture or something like that, and Jesus will rule everything, and so there's going to be some apocalypse at some point, and it doesn't really matter what we do until then, just as long as we are praising God enough, and therefore we can tear up the environment, we can kill all this, various species on the earth. We can be really awful to each other and fight wars for no reason. It's all good, and you can make as much money as you like doing it, because when the time comes, you've been praying hard and are going to be on the good side of things, or you're going to die. And either way, you don't really have much agency in terms of which side you end up there. So might as well go all in.
Yeah, there was some thing. I am forgetting the name. I apologize, but there was a theorist. I'm using the term very loosely here, who wrote a paper recently that was basically, you should be like morally obligated to put all of your time and energy towards making a functioning AI. Because when an AI does manifest itself, as it inevitably will, it will be mad at anyone who didn't put all of their time and energy into making it, and will then torture and kill the human population because they didn't do that.
Yeah, I guess that's a variant of Roko's basilisk there, which is is slightly different in that it will also recreate anyone who has not supported its creation and torture them forever.
Oh yeah, it is that guy, and I forgot that part. Because of course he fucking brought "I have no mouth and I must scream" into this.
Yes. The guy there is also kind of a jerk face.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I feel like we should just stop. We should have a moratorium. Engineers are no longer allowed to read science fiction.
Well, Max will be sad.
So I think just overall, there's some people who aren't doing it, but overall it's done a lot more harm than good.
Maybe a basic critical education sort of class before you can read your sci-fi there. How about that?
Yeah. I mean, you've seen those memes going around, the venture capitalists going, "Good job, we've created the agony nexus." From my favorite sci-fi book, "Don't build the agony nexus."
Yep. Why did you do it? It's right on the cover. Because it was cool. Yeah, so engineer folks, I love you, but don't build the agony nexus here, or vortex, I think it was, maybe.
Yeah.
Because that would just be a bad time, and we'll be upset with you.
I mean, I literally saw when I was doing research for this episode, I literally stumbled across a 2015 Gizmodo article called "Gray Goo Scenarios and How to Prevent Them." And it was stuff like, think through the worst case scenario of your stuff. It's like, just don't build a self-replicating nanite. It's not hard. I do it all the time.
I guess one thing also to remember is, if you're going to build nanites and you are worried about them spontaneously learning the ways to self-replicate, use materials that they are not going to have easy access to as their primary components, because despite some gray goo, scenarios that I've run into, nanites do require certain, reliance on the basic chemistry of the world. And if you are going to be building them in such a way that they are not going to have the materials there to make use of specific chemistry, then they're not going to be able to, reproduce out of control. So, having some basic sense there would be a good idea too.
I think we're missing the very obvious solution. I have the perfect way to never have gray goo ever happen. Make sure you make the nanites out of copper, and then it'll be red goo.
The shininess that's coming at us, is it gray or red? It's kind of orangish. It's probably red then. All right. I guess another thing that kind of runs into a problem when you're dealing with nanotechnology like this is the power source. You effectively require a chemical power source in order to keep these things going, unless you have an external device of some sort that is effectively feeding them electric current or whatever. And so they might be able to get away with existing and reproducing in, say, a computer core like in this episode. But, if you get them outside of that environment, they have to have a resupply of their fuel. And if you deny them the fuel, you're going to be okay.
That's why they make themselves solar powered.
Oh, no. It's like the Matrix, except less, human towers.
Yeah.
I might have to add the Animatrix to my to review list at some point. Anyway.
That one would be hard. That one's going to be difficult.
Yes.
I know a lot of people we need to bring on if we start talking about the Matrix quartet.
Quartet plus extras.
Yeah.
Anyway, so don't make self-replicating nanites and you'll be A-okay. And even if you do, there's a lot of ways to easily prevent a gray goo situation, but still don't make self-replicating nanites.
Yeah. Now, I would say that the one criticism that I would have of an episode like this, where it's basically, if we can all talk to each other, we can get along, because that's basically what we're trying to do here, is they do use it to very easily sidestep moral dilemmas sometimes, because what if you had created a life form in the gray goo stuff that was in fact not sentient, and you couldn't talk to it because it's just not going to understand you, and there's nothing you can do about that? Then what do you do with it? Because should you extinctify an entire species to save yourself?
Do you, did Wesley at the very beginning, before they did any proper networking with their numerous members, did he create the species there? And is he effectively playing God? Does he then have the right to destroy it or make the decision there, or is there a different way that we should be thinking about things in terms of the possible genocide of an entire species?
Or even that, just because you made something, does that give you the right to have ultimate say in its destruction?
I'd say no, generally, because like in this case, Wesley kind of did it by accident. And so, even, accidents happen. And, if you have an exception for, I am now your God, then, accidents will also mean that you have that power there. Because, there could be arguments about, how much intention was in there. And there would always be a bit of a gray zone there that is very gooey.
Haha.
Anyway.
So I think they use it they can sidestep moral dilemmas but it's sentient, so it's fine. We can explain ourselves to it. Because, if you have this thing, you either have to kill it or you have to move it somewhere. And then if you move it somewhere, it's just there. And it's possibly a danger to someone else. And what are you going to do with that? So there's a very sticky moral dilemma here that they avoid. I also think it's very funny, especially in episodes like this where Data becomes a central bit, where they go on and on about how unique and special and amazing it is that Data's a sentient computer, when apparently any computer you leave on for more than 5 minutes is going to become sentient.
Oh no, we left the holodeck on and someone gave it the wrong control. Now we have a Moriarty running around. Oh no, we had two specifically 2 nanites able to network together. And now they've reproduced so much that they're a living entity or community or something. Well, who would have thought? We got the home soil silicon life form there, which I know it's not, something they left on for long enough, but still, it's, we had this planet here with silicon, deposits, and now it's alive. Who would have thought?
And it's fully sentient as well.
Yep. Yep.
Then you hit that too. If the framework for you shouldn't kill these things is they're sentient, it is deeply implied that because they're a networked intelligence, they're sentient when there's enough of them. So if you like kill off enough that they're no longer sentient and they're just a random life form again, is that okay now? Can you kill the rest of them because they're not sentient anymore?
And
Wait, if you have a weird thing like this that crosses a sentience line at a certain numerical value, that creates a weird component to this whole thing too. That I don't think I don't have the place to figure it out. But they ignore a lot of stuff when they do this is a sentient thing we can talk to. As much as I like how much it plays into the overall text of the show and its general philosophical leaning. That's I think where it becomes an issue and where people find it boring is that they use it to sidestep other potential philosophical problems.
Yeah. But those aren't the problems they're trying to talk about this week, so we're just going to ignore it.
Yeah, we're going to ignore it, and we could probably complain about gray goo for another hour.
Yes, and I guess I also have a quick idea that what if they're trying to rebuild the computer for them now, and it shuts off the shields at just the wrong time, and a gamma ray burst from that exploding neutron star hits the ship, and it, in addition to giving most everyone cancer, it kills all the nanites, or at least sufficiently numbers of them, so they're not intelligent anymore and unable to fix the computer. And everyone notices, like, well, do we want to try to regrow them, or what? Do we just put them on the one planet and hope for the best? What do we do?
This is what happens when you spend too much time talking about baseball and don't give yourself enough time to wrap up the episode.
Which, if I recall one story, all the baseball stuff might have been one of the reasons Michael Piller got noticed by the higher up. So
baseball,
that's weird.
Baseball. I like baseball. Did someone say baseball? Anyway. I think that at this point we've gone on for long enough that it's time for the Galaxy's favorite game show! Woo!
Hey everybody, welcome to the Galaxy's favorite game show. With the Season 3 of Star Trek The Next Generation, we got ourselves various, contestants. Always looking wonder there. Yeah. Give us a bow, Dr. Stubbs. Stop doing the crazy eyes. Anyway, we got prizes to hand out, and everyone's been racking up the points. And so, what do we got here? The first one is the After School Special Prize, which goes to Wesley, his mom, and Dr. Stubbs for being shown that maybe Wesley should slow down from time to time, lest he become a bitter old man whose only escape is thinking about baseball and killing nanites. What did they win, Gepwin?
They win a football. No one in this universe ever thinks about football. It would make him interesting.
And are we talking American football specifically?
Either one. They've never mentioned either one.
Which is a little weird when you think about it. But our next, prize to hand out is the Puny God Prize, which goes to Wesley for creating a whole species by accident while he was asleep. What does he win, Gepwin?
Wesley wins a very, very tiny monument they've built for him on their new world. Very small, but some nice statue. Some good details.
I'm thinking now of that one Simpsons Halloween special where Lisa, accidentally zaps her tooth in the slime mold situation there, and it creates a whole civilization.
Yeah.
Including a very small statue of her. Our third prize is the Risky Moral Calculus Prize, which goes to Data for thinking it is a great idea to let himself be taken over by nanites that have been shown to eat computer components, given that, he's an android and might have components they might want to nibble on. What does he win, Gepwin?
Data just installs a revolving door in his forehead. It's the number of things that they just get in and out of there. Just easier. Right here. There you go. Come on.
Maybe if they do another season of Picard, we could have a whole subplot where Data starts running into all the random people that have wandered into his head at some point or another. And it's like, oh yeah, here's the Dr. Mannheim guy or whatever it was from the previous season is my grandpa, and he's here suddenly. This is weird. Anyway, our final prize today is the Don't Mess with the Science Team prize, which goes to Dr. Stubbs for choosing science over life, including his own, and having a gamma ray burst gun, because that's standard issue for the science team. What does he win, Gepwin?
He wins a posthumous Nobel Prize, or whatever the equivalent is now. Daystrom Institute, I guess. But anyway, it's great because he's dead. If you die in the name of science, no one has to worry about if you're a dick or if you're going to mess up something or not. You can just yes, he was great, and no one can argue because he's dead.
I try to be a nice fellow when I'm doing science out in the world, but that's actually a good point. Maybe I should be more of a dick sometimes. Anywho, that's all I got here for this week, Gepwin, so feel free to take us away.
Thank you all for being here and joining us for the nonsense that we've been doing for too many seasons, called the Galaxy's Favorite Game Show!
Woo!
Alright, we just finished an episode where they have to talk to an inhuman life form and work things out, so next time we need to go on to talking to an inhuman life form and working things out.
Yeah, but this next episode also has some humans talking to a inhuman life form in order to actually get something worked out.
Sure.
Yes. Also a really silly looking robot. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I drove by those things. I used to drive by those things all the time. It's something that they do in California and like the Southwest for some reason. I don't know why. This is just a staple Southwestern American thing.
Kind of reminds me of the Edward Scissorhands robots.
Mm-hmm. Just I don't know. I guess you have trash and you have welding equipment and you have free time.
If you live in the arid regions of the world, sometimes you just want to put some stuff together and make a person-shaped pile of materials.
Yeah, possibly it's because nothing rusts out there. So maybe it's just because you have a lot of metal stuff laying around that's refusing to rust.
Yes.
Anyway, anybody who has ever lived in, let's see, Utah, Arizona, or California will have figured out what I'm talking about by now, and I'm very curious who has. All right, next is the Ensigns of Command.
Wait a moment. Ensigns are being put in command?
Yeah, it seems like a bad idea. But I've always enjoyed this episode and similar episodes where it's like Data has to be alone and figure out shit. Those are always pretty good episodes.
Yeah, because when he's with the rest of the crew, it's like, I'm bouncing off ideas and being Data, and so, there might be some things I just am unexperienced with, and so we have to sort of interact with the human characters, and everyone's real cool about everything. Thus, again, later seasons, we'd very much have the Data Geordi show happening at times. But then there's episodes like this one where Data's like dealing with a bunch of people that don't really know how to interact with him in the same way. And so you got, tension, and he's doing science and then being all like, I need to talk to you about something important here. Otherwise people might die. So let's do a thing. And they're like, but we don't want to do the thing. All right, well, here's how we figure out how to get you to do the thing now, because I'm Data and I can figure these things out.
Yeah, they don't let Data shine. Sometimes they do. I love it when they put Data in command of things.
Redemption.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so this has Data doing stuff. It has weird inhuman aliens. It has the most confusing guest star list I've ever had to figure out.
which colonist we're talking about now?
Yeah, not only that, but like at least one guy was uncredited because he was overdubbed because they didn't like how his voice sounded when they were editing.
That's a little weird, but okay.
And then also, we'll get to it, but like it has who you cannot convince me that these characters are not supposed to be Star Trek's first gay couple. I will not be convinced. These two are just the nicest gay couple you've ever met on a colony.
Excellent. We also have the return of the voice of Armus.
Yes, playing another and the body of Armus.
Yes.
The Armus tag team is back.
Yes.
Playing another goopy alien.
Oops.
Being typecast. When you need someone to play goo, what do? I play black goo.
That's very specific.
No, you'd be surprised how
no.
often it comes up. All right, so next week, we've got Ensigns of Command, where a lieutenant commander is in command, so this doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think there's like a saying that's attached to that sort of thing. Also, Picard gets to be a rules lawyer.
Yeah.
Which I actually also
it's
really
his
like.
best thing. I know. I'm going to have fun. We'll have fun next week.
Hooray! Next time on Watchers of Tomorrow, Data fights an aqueduct. You have been listening to Watchers of Tomorrow, a podcast on science fiction media. Find and follow Watchers of Tomorrow on Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Spreader, Digital Podcast, and perhaps many more to come. If you enjoy our podcast, make sure to subscribe for more. And where possible, make sure to rate your experience or leave us a review. You may find Gepwin on youtube.com/Gepwin and Twitter @Gepwin. You may find me, Dr. Isix, on youtube.com/Dr. Isix and Twitter @IsixLP. Music is Waveform and Mori's Principle, both by DRKRN. You can also check out the Watchers of Tomorrow Discord channel. Make sure to share the experience with your friends, family, enemies, and alien overlords. If you feel you are suffering from transporter syndrome, please be aware that the next time you step off the transporter, that you, that is now, no longer exists.